They used to call me Crazy Joe. Well, now they can call me Batman.
Good morning. Welcome back to Crazy Joe's Concession Stand. I got a little bit of a different video for you today. You know, usually here we talk about movies. This is a channel where movies are usually the topic of discussion. Today we're going to go a little bit different. I just got back from New York City for my birthday. My wife got me tickets, also the whole family, tickets to see Back to the Future, the musical on Broadway at the Winter Garden Theater. And it's only the third show I've seen on Broadway. 4 shows kind of in New York. One of them was considered an off-Broadway show. That was Evil Dead the musical. But the only other 2 Broadway, like actual Broadway productions I saw were the 2003 version of Little Shop of Horrors, which had Martin P. Robinson's Snuffleupagus from Sesame Street and Slimy from Sesame Street performing Audrey 2. So Little Shop of Horrors in 2003. And then one of the earlier showings of Spamalot, Monty Python Spamalot. It wasn't like the original cast. Hank Azaria had already left the show, but he'd been replaced with Alan Tudyk, Wash from Firefly. So that was exciting. So this is only the third official Broadway production I've seen. And man, I got to tell you, if you have the means, get out to New York City and check out Back to the Future, the musical, especially if you are a fan of Back to the Future. If you're a Back to the Future fan, you've got to see it. You've really got to see it. I came home with the soundtrack album. I'm like, okay, I need the soundtrack. I came home with too much merch, really. Too much merch. I came home with a t-shirt, a coffee mug. But Back to the Future is my all-time favorite movie. And I was desperate to see this. And there's going to be a touring show that's going to go city to city starting this summer. However, they still hadn't set a date for Philadelphia, so I didn't know when I was going to get to see it. This summer, I think it's coming to Washington, D.C., which isn't terribly close, but it's about the same amount of drive to Washington as it is to New York. If you're going to drive the same amount of distance, might as well see the Broadway version, right? Where do I begin? I don't know if there can you give spoilers? Can you give spoilers for a Broadway show? I don't know, especially one based on a movie where you really already know the story. I'm not going to give away any of the little surprises. There's some technical things they do, some production value things that like kind of just are jaw-dropping and you're like, wow, I didn't expect that. I'm not going to give any of those away. I'll let you be surprised there. I will point out some of the tweaks to the details of the story. For example, it's a stage production. There's only so much they can do on the stage. They've only got so much room on the stage, and when you're getting into things like car chases, it's a little tricky, though they handle the driving to 88 miles per hour beautifully. That's really cool how they do that. But they cut the Libyans. There's no Libyan terrorists in this version. It doesn't really change the story at all. It changes a detail of the story. It changes a detail, but not the story. This is an argument I had with a friend years ago when Ready Player One came out. Ready Player One, he came out and he said they totally changed the story. I said they didn't change the story at all. The story was exactly the same. They changed the details. That's what changed. The details changed. The story was exactly the same. And it's the same here. It's also like the Zack Snyder's The Watchmen. If you watch Zack Snyder's The Watchmen, he cuts out the squid. Kind of gets you to the same place. Really doesn't change the story. It gets you to the same end game. It just does it with a little bit of a different detail. So in this version, instead of Libyan terrorists, Doc dies from radiation poisoning. Radiation poisoning from the plutonium is what kills him. And Marty, wants to warn him, hey, you're going to get poisoned by radiation. So the story beats are exactly the same. It's just the details that get you there that kind of swerve. It's a musical. So the first thing you're going to want to know about is the music. I got to say, there's some real good songs in here. I think the 2 best songs in the entire show are both sung by Doc. The titles are, of course, none of the songs are listed on the back here. There's a song called, I think, The 21st Century, It's a dream sequence Doc has where he's dreaming about the future, and he sings a song called like In the 21st Century. Great song. Really great song. I loved that one. And then he also has a song when he sings about hooking something up to the lightning to the car to catch the lightning, and he sings a song called Here's to the Dreamers, or This One's for the Dreamers. Wonderful song. Those are my two favorite songs from the whole show, 21st Century and Here's to the Dreamers. They're both great. But there's a lot of good musical numbers in here. I think the only musical number I didn't care for is Marvin Berry and the Starlighters have a new song they sing at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. They still do Earth Angel. Like Earth Angel's in here. Make no mistake. They do Earth Angel. But before that, before Marvin hurts his hand and Marty has to pick up the guitar, they do another song earlier. And I didn't care for that one. Like that's probably to me the weakest song in the show. Otherwise, the music's really strong, and it's all original songs except Earth Angel, Johnny Be Good, The Power of Love, and Back in Time. Those 4 songs make it into the musical. Otherwise, it's all new tracks, and most of them are pretty good. The whole cast the show's lively and energetic. The cast is great. They're clearly having a wonderful time. The audience is having a wonderful time. When you come into the theater, this is the Winter Garden Theater. This is the theater that famously had Cats for like 20 some years. Cats played in this theater. I remember back in the 90s, my friend and I got tickets to Letterman, and we went up to Letterman, and probably that theater, the Winter Garden, is the theater closest to the Ed Sullivan Theater where David Letterman used to shoot and now Stephen Colbert shoots. And I remember we saw the Cats logos and everything, and that was so synonymous growing up in the 80s and 90s with New York. Even if you've never been to New York, you saw images of that theater and that famous Cats logo. And that's where the show's held. But when you go in there, there's like a circuit board. Like there's this circuit board everywhere, up in the leading into the balconies and all around the stage. And they utilize this circuit board throughout the show. When people are traveling through time, you'll see the circuits all going, and it's really, really impressive. I had such a good time. Today was like a perfect day. It was like you ever have a day that's like, you look back and you're like, that was a perfect day. Today was a perfect day because I watched my favorite movie of all time come to life before my eyes. I won't lie. I got a little teary-eyed at parts. I got a little teary-eyed because I was watching my absolute favorite movie come to life in front of me. And I wasn't alone, because after the show, there was a guy in the lobby wearing a Future Marty jacket, from Back to the Future Part 2, when he had to put on the Future jacket that adjusts the size. And I said, hey, that's a great jacket you're wearing. And he was like, oh, thank you. And we got talking, and he said he was getting choked up too. He's like, this is my favorite movie, man. I was getting choked up in there. I'm like, I was too. So if you have the intense love for Back to the Future that I have, and that this other guy had, if you have the means, if you're not that far from New York, if New York's within driving distance or something, try to catch this. You won't be sorry you did. And if you can't, keep an eye out for when the traveling show happens. If it comes to your city, I don't know that I'll get back to New York, but if this comes to Philadelphia in the next couple of years, I want to go see it again, and I want to drag some of my friends with me and say, like, you guys got to see this. But yeah, Back to the Future the musical is a real winner. I loved it. I loved it, man. I loved this. I had such a good time today. Such a good time. And I'll tell you this, I've always been very, very opposed to the idea of remaking Back to the Future. I've always been like, no remake. It's a perfect movie. Don't remake it. I still feel that way. I don't want to remake a Back to the Future. But if they made a movie version of Back to the Future, the musical, a musical version is a little different because it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Like, You watch Roger Corman's original Little Shop of Horrors and you watch the Frank Oz movie from 1986, they're not the same. It's a different animal. I mean, yeah, the story might be the same, but it's a different animal, the musical. And I wouldn't want a Back to the Future remake. I wouldn't be opposed to a movie of Back to the Future, the musical. So anyway, I say check it out. This is a great time at the theater. And if you go, you're going to have a blast. All right. And a big thank you to my wife for getting me those tickets. I wanted to see this from the moment I heard Back to the Future was being turned into a musical. It originated in London. I wasn't going to get out to London. And then I heard it's coming to Broadway. I was like, I gotta go. And I have a great wife. She really it's the best present I could have asked for. And to take my daughter's always wanted to go to New York. She loves the Ninja Turtles, and she's always had the idea in her head that she'd like run into the Ninja Turtles if she went to New York. She didn't run into any Ninja Turtles, but still she had, and I'll tell you one other thing unrelated to Back to the Future, the musical. Anyone who knows me knows I adore the Muppets. I'm a huge Muppets fan. And we're walking around Times Square. We're looking for a place to get lunch. We went, and my wife's like, I want some New York pizza. So we're trying to find a place near Times Square that has New York pizza. And we get out our phones and we find that there's a place not too far from us called John's Pizza in New York. So how's this? She goes, that sounds good. So we start, we figure out where it is and we start walking towards John's Pizza. Next thing I know, I'm passing Sardi's, the famous New York restaurant Sardi's. It's known for having the pictures of all the celebrities around the wall. Now, this is the place that in the Muppets Take Manhattan, Kermit the Frog snuck into Sardi's with a fake mustache and a hat and a coat, and he took down Liza Minnelli's picture off the wall, and he put his picture on the wall instead and sat underneath it. He was trying to get a campaign going for Manhattan Melodies. Well, I had gotten wind that Sardi's still had Kermit the Frog's face on the wall. So we're walking to this John's, and I see Sardi's. I go, Sardi's, we got to go in and see Kermit. And my wife's like, are they going to let us in? They're a restaurant. I don't know if they're going to let someone come in and see Kermit. I go, it doesn't hurt to ask. We get in. They're not quite open yet. There's a couple people at the bar. Nobody's really eating. And I say to the guy, any chance we can see Kermit the Frog? They point us right to the direction of Kermit. We go up a flight of stairs. There's Kermit. He's on the upper level, right when you get to the top of the stairs. And we got pictures with Kermit. And such a small thing made me so giddy. I was so happy. And the guy working on the upper level, thick New York accent, starts telling my daughter, did you see the Muppets Take Manhattan? He snuck in here and he took down, I don't do good accents. He took down Liza Minnelli's picture and he put his picture up. Now we're stuck with it. And it was just delightful. All right, guys. That's all I got. I just wanted to tell you Back to the Future, the musical is terrific. Hey, thanks for watching and keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas
with the plastic feet.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
Tell everyone you meet.
Keep wearing those pajamas
with the back door flap.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
Don't open, it's a trap.
Oh no,
it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander pajamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas.
Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas.
I know we're having fun.
Keep wearing those pajamas.
And now the song is done.